What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is the 2011 Iranian drama film A Separation. First requested to me by MarinoZajmi and written and directed by Asghar Farhadi, A Separation takes place in modern day Iran where a married couple is seeking separation because the wife wishes to move outside of the country with their daughter because she doesn't like the living conditions in Iran. The husband doesn't want to move because he has to take care of his sick father and cannot afford to move him to another country. Because his father is so sick, he needs constant supervision, and because of this, his son Nadir hires a woman named Razia to take care of his father while he's at work. But before long, things turn bad as Nadir is accused of committing a crime against Razia on top of the mounting family issues he has going on. Alright, so I was definitely looking forward to this request, because there are a couple of you guys out there commenting about this movie and asking my opinion on it and such, and I'd never seen it until now, but I did know that it was coming up on the request list. I also knew that the film has received nearly universal acclaim and has been deemed a masterpiece by many, and because of that, I was definitely expecting big things. But sadly, I can't say I didn't like this movie, but I can say that I didn't love this movie. I think I get what people are seeing in it, but it never quite reached the level that I wanted it to. There are certainly moments that are great in this film, but collectively, I just didn't feel super invested in this story. I think as an American who doesn't speak other languages, it's always tricky when you're watching a foreign film with subtitles. This isn't to say that they can't be good. I'm not saying that at all, quite to the contrary actually. Another request I did was The Hunt, which is all subtitles obviously, and I loved it. Another film way back when from Mel Gibson actually called Apocalypto is all subtitles too, and it's probably one of my favorite movies. But if you're going to watch a subtitle foreign film, it has to be so good that it just floors you and makes you forget that you're reading the film, so to speak. And I'm genuinely curious as to whether or not I would have perceived A Separation as a great film if it had been in English. I'm honestly not sure. But I think the main problem I had was that I never felt like I was super invested in the characters, despite the fact that their story is supposed to be heartbreaking and tragic. It is in some ways, but it doesn't feel fully realized, like it can effectively emphasize how tragic its premise and main plot is. Because there's really two big conflicts going on here. The first half is about the family aspect and how the family is being pulled in multiple directions because Nadir has an obligation to stay and take care of his father and help him, but he also has an obligation to his wife and his daughter to help provide the best possible lives for them. And that's where the conflict lies. And there's a second conflict that takes center stage in the second half of the film that regards an accusation Nadir receives from his father's caretaker, Razia. At that point, it sort of becomes like a crime drama, and the family aspect takes a bit of a backseat, I'd say. Now, when you combine both of these conflicts together, on paper, it sounds like it would be an amazing film, one that I'd fall head over heels for and probably 9 times out of 10 really love. But the execution of the film never quite managed to hook me in a way that wowed me. I'm certainly not prepared to say this is a bad film, but I can't say that I find it to be a great one either. To me, A Separation is a very average movie with a great premise that never quite lives up to the potential of that premise. And I've already explained why I believe that is a little bit thus far, but there are some other reasons as well. For example, I think the acting from a few of the supporting characters didn't quite work for me. I think Nadir, his wife, and his daughter were all excellent, but there's two characters from the other family, the accusing family, that I'd say are pretty big parts of this story, and I was just never quite sold on them. In a film that swings for the fences and shoots for realism, it achieves in some characters and doesn't in other characters. And when you have characters that are in a way antagonists, I would say, they have to be believable and interesting, and these two just weren't to me. I think the film itself does come across as very genuine though. I think it does a great job of immersing you into Muslim culture, and it does a great job illustrating how important customs and traditions are to these characters. It also illustrates how different their way of life and justice system is to how we do things in America. And I can totally see why a lot of people might find ultra-realism in this film. It's certainly there in a lot of ways, and it certainly has a strong sense of atmosphere that contributes quite a bit to the overall product. And I think there's a lot of commentary on tradition, balancing responsibilities and obligations, and how we all perceive others differently than we perceive ourselves. Many of us think that we're right, and those who disagree with us are wrong, and it's very easy to label other people with different ideas on how to live as evil or sinful. But when it comes down to it, there are a lot of different factors at play when it comes to family, and there are a lot of different interpretations of how best to provide the best life possible for your family. This concept is on display primarily in the first half of the film when Samin and Nadir are trying to get divorced. Neither of them really wants to get divorced. They just have a different hierarchy in terms of obligation and how they're prioritizing those obligations. And A Separation has a lot of important things to say just as a whole, and it does so through a culture that's rarely seen in movies here in America, which is very cool. And despite all that, I still find myself moderately invested at best in these characters. I found there to be a fair amount of redundancy in this story, and I found myself invested in the core concepts and themes, but often bored with the film itself. And I'm sure many disagree with my take here because a lot of people really love this film. But I just felt that the pace, some of the acting, and the construction of the narrative never quite manages to live up to the potential of the premise itself. I love the idea of this film, but I just can't say I love it as a film. And that includes the ending, which just didn't do it for me, honestly. I know this probably isn't going to be my most popular review, but honestly, I feel like I have to be honest about this kind of stuff. As for the pros cons, I thought A Separation had excellent acting from its main family, a very strong sense of atmosphere, and lots of thought-provoking themes. Sadly, I also felt the movie was often boring and slow, the acting from some of the supporting characters was weak, and the ending felt very anticlimactic. I'm going to give A Separation a 6.5 out of 10, and honestly, I will recommend you check it out because it seems to be loved by the vast majority of people. Just keep in mind the subtitles factor, it is a foreign film after all. So have you guys seen A Separation yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also don't forget that I'm going to be live streaming during the Oscars Sunday night. I'll probably start around 7:30 to 8 Eastern time. I know the ceremony starts at 8, and it'll just be fun to hang out and react to the Oscar winners live. I'm also going to live stream my Oscar predictions, maybe Saturday or Sunday morning. Not sure yet, so stay tuned for that. Either way, that's all for now. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next video.